Norman Greenbaum. God, do I love that song. And it's been in like every movie the last 20 years. Bad Luck by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. Let's Get It On by Marvin Gaye. Love Train by the OJs. Clearly I was watching a lot of Soul Train. Strawberry Letter 23 by the Brothers Johnson. That is just such a great song. Band on the Run, Paul McCartney and Wings. That reminds me of getting up early in the morning putting my newspapers together. Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple. And A Horse with No Name by America, which I just saw Dewey perform when I was at John Stamos' house. John Stamos has a little band room. The guys got together, and I saw him perform that about 5 feet away from me. Love that song.
Becoming Baba Booey. A Day That Will Live in Infamy. 1990.
Boy Gary. That was my nickname for the first 6 years on the show. It wasn't even original. The guy I replaced had been Boy Lee. Before that, Howard had called his college roommate Boy. I was just another in a long line of boys. In 1989, the Rolling Stones held a press conference at Grand Central Terminal to announce their Steel Wheels tour. This was the early days of cable. Every network from MTV to CNN covered it live. With cameras rolling, I asked the first question. Mick, I said, Boy Gary from the Howard Stern Show. I was getting too old to be called Boy. I was pushing 30. I was more than a decade older than our interns. I looked forward to shedding the tag, but I had no idea what would replace it. Until July 26, 1990. The day began like any other, with me saying something that became fodder for the show. In the late 80s and early 90s, collecting animation art became popular. These were iconic cartoon cells, Bugs Bunny eating a carrot, or Yosemite Sam sitting on a keg of dynamite, drawn by the original cartoonist, signed and then framed. They weren't mass-produced. Each picture was numbered, making them limited edition, high-end pieces of art. Galleries began selling them for a few $100. A Mickey Mouse at the time sold for more than $400,000. I thought they would be a good investment. They'll never go down in value, I would say to Howard, and he would make fun of me. I babbled about getting a Friz Freleng or a Chuck Jones, two of the big Warner Brothers artists back in the day. The truth was, I talked about the cells more than I collected them. After months of research and browsing, I owned exactly one, a picture of Bugs Bunny and Yosemite Sam. But I had made a decision. I was going to buy a new one. And that morning, July 26, 1990, I mentioned my intention to Jackie before the show. It was a big deal for me. I was leaving the Warner Brothers family to purchase something from the Hanna-Barbera collection. I told Jackie the characters I wanted to buy, and he shrugged like he wasn't that interested. I was wrong. He was very interested. A couple of minutes later, after we were on the air, Howard called me in. Gary's into this weird thing. He collects cartoon art. Animated cells. Get it right, I said. My next purchase will be a Da Vinci or a Marmaduke, Howard said, imitating me in a dopey voice. I'm strictly a Warner Brothers collector, I said, but I am thinking about dabbling in the Hanna-Barbera stuff. I'm thinking about getting a Quick Draw McGraw or a Baba Booey. Good, good, Howard said. How do you make the final determination? How much does a Baba Louie go for? Quick Draw and Baba Booey are about $325. What do you call them, Howard asked. Baba Booey, I answered, emphasizing the word Booey by raising my voice an octave. It's Baba Louie. You're going to hang a picture of a guy and you don't know his name? Baba Booey, Baba Booey. A resigned, disgusted silence descended. Then Howard continued. Baba Booey. I didn't even know he was saying a Baba Booey. I was bored with the conversation. I figured they were done with me. They'd move on in a few minutes. This is what happened every day. I stood up and left the studio. He just walked out, Howard said. He thinks we've exhausted this, but we haven't exhausted this. A pause. Then he yelled, It's just the tip of the iceberg, Baba Booey. Then we went to commercial and I said, Okay, guys, joke's over. I sat down at my desk and thought, all right, it's 8:30. They'll be on to something else in an hour. But an hour passed and they were still laughing at me. I'd hear Baba Booey, followed by cackles. They sounded like monkeys who'd been smoking dope all morning. The next morning it lingered and I realized it had just a little bit of a shelf life. Maybe it would last a week or two. It just wasn't a nickname that was going to stick. It was like an ABBA song that reached #1. It had 2 weeks, 3 tops. It's not that I hated the name. It was funny to say, but I just thought it was so silly. I didn't believe it would stand the test of time. One day I came into work with a tape of Quick Draw McGraw saying the phrase Baba Boy. If you listen closely, it sounded like he was saying Baba Booey. I even tried to bring it up, but Howard shot me down. It's perfect, he said. Why do you want to ruin it? Every day Baba Booey grew, leaving Boy Gary behind. Captain Janks, a fan from Philly who used to call talk shows like Donahue and scream, Howard Stern rules, started using Baba Booey instead. He realized that if he said it on the air, hosts weren't as quick to cut him off. They had no idea what he was saying. Larry King was his favorite target. Poor Larry. The worst thing he ever did was get an 800 number because it meant Jenks could call him nonstop without getting charged. Once Jenks got through the screeners and yelled, "Baba Booey, Baba Booey," but Larry didn't hang up on him. He just stared into the screen, his eyes wide and confused behind those glasses, and said, "I don't understand." Then in February 1991, Howard released a CD called Crucified by the FCC, which was a compilation of all the moments that had gotten him in trouble over the years. It came with a booklet, and on the back cover was a list of the top phrases in the history of the Howard Stern Show. "That's not flab, honey, that's bulk" was number 10. "It's too late, Soupy, I've already cut a string on the piano" was number 5. And number 1 was Baba Booey. I thought, really? It wasn't even the dumbest thing I'd ever said on the show, or the most embarrassing. I had once given such graphic details about my sex life that even my mom called me to tell me I had taken it too far, and she beat people with shrubs. But Baba Booey wasn't just about me acting stupid. It was something more visceral. The alliteration made it fun to say. It was a call to action. I used to spend a lot of weekends on the road making personal appearances. I'd hit strip clubs in Buffalo, mattress store openings in Cleveland, happy hours in Detroit. These were my specialties. A lot of times I'd bring one of my guys from Long Island with me. My first couple of times through each town, I drew a lot of people. It's not as though I had a show. I just signed my autograph on my glossy headshot. By the third, fourth, or fifth time that I hit the same spot, the crowds were a little smaller. The novelty wore off. It was just me, the guy from Howard Stern, signing my name on my face. That changed when I became Baba Booey. Soon after the name entered the ether, the lines became longer wherever I went. It was as if Baba Booey gave people a reason to see me. "Hey," they could tell friend, "let's go see Baba Booey." Then they'd laugh, like they were stone monkeys. I still signed autographs, but if I wrote, "To Jimmy, all my best, Gary," Jimmy would shove the picture back on my face and say, No, just sign it Baba Booey." Pretty soon that's all I signed. It wasn't about me anymore. It had morphed into being a code for the show, like a battle cry. Fans picked up on that idea and followed in the steps of Captain Jenks. In 1997, a Sports Illustrated column mentioned Boston University and that it was Howard's alma mater. He ended the piece, "Baba Booey." It had nothing to do with me. They were the people who understood what it meant, the loyal listeners to the show, the members of the club, and the rest of the world who didn't. The night of the O.J. Simpson slow-speed chase in June 1994, we all learned that the late ABC News anchor Peter Jennings was a member of the latter group. It was Friday night, and Mary and I were in Boston for a wedding that weekend. The Knicks were playing in Game 6 of the NBA Finals. I really wanted to see this game. We were at Legal Seafoods in Copley Square, and I snuck away to the bar to get the score. I saw the White Bronco and said to the bartender, "Can you put on the game?"